Public Meetings Act of 1975. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided. If any member has reason to believe this meeting is being held in violation of this act, sorry, they should state so at this time. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mrs. Werner,
Here.
Mr. Venuto,
Here.
Mr. Levin,
Here.
Mrs. Notch,
Here.
Ms. Sheehan, Mr. Walsh, Mr. Zexer,
Here.
Mr. Yeager, Ms. Stevenson.
Okay, our first resolution is Adam and Colleen Curtin, 911 Washington Street, Block 1094. Can we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Levin motions, Mrs. Notch seconds. Mr. Levin?
Yes.
Mrs. Notch?
Yes.
Ms. Sheehan?
Abstain?
Mr. Zexer?
Yes.
Mr. Venuto?
Yes.
Mrs. Werner?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next, we need a motion to approve the minutes of July 23rd, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Zexer motions, Mrs. Notch seconds. Mr. Levin?
Yes.
Mrs. Notch?
Yes.
Ms. Sheehan?
Abstain?
Mr. Zexer?
Yes.
Mr. Venuto?
Yes.
Mrs. Werner?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, our first application tonight is the Hulse Family Trust, 409 Jefferson Street, Block 1086. I'm sorry. Just press the button to make it green so that you're speaking.
Hi, I'm Glenn Hulse. This is my wife Christine and our design representative, Adam Crossland.
Good evening. How's everybody doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Obviously, the Hulses are representing themselves this evening. I'm here just to assist them. This is a rather unique situation. This project
I'm
does
going to
not.
put you all under oath if I could.
Sure.
Please raise your right hand. Mr. Hurlos, our board engineer, is also going to be sworn in. Do each of you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Yes.
I do.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a rather unique situation. Back in 2016, the clients put a front porch on their house, which we designed for them. They've since come back to us and wanted to put a small rear addition on the back of their house, completely conforming to zoning code. However, because they received the variance for the front yard setback to build a front porch back in 2016, there's a newer code, I think it's like 4 or 5 years old, that any project that received a variance in the past has to come back before the board for a review. So that's basically the reason we're here this evening. Again, though, the project does not require any variances. We're simply here to meet the code saying that the board needs to get a look at anything for future permits if it had a variance in the past.
Do you have any other testimony that you want to give? Any questions from the board?
Just here to answer any
Can you
questions. ma'am.
describe the project and why you're doing it? Like, describe the project so we have
So-
some kind of record.
The addition on the rear is to add space, living space back for bedroom space and storage versus the front of the house where we currently have a living room and a bedroom. Intent is to take that bedroom away to expand the living space in the front of the house as our family's grown. 3 grown children, all have significant others, and just not enough space in the front of the house. So if we take away a bedroom, we need to add a bedroom. So we're doing the addition on the back of the house to kind of take care of that. And additionally, inside, we will expand the kitchen to make it a little bit bigger. It's a very small turnaround kitchen now, so we'll expand the kitchen.
Does the addition in the rear, does it meet all of the bulk requirements?
It does.
It does,
I mean, I know this, but I want to hear it
Get
said.
it on the record.
yes.
And I believe we have a letter from the zoning official stating that if it weren't for the code saying we have to come back here, it does meet all current codes and would have received a zoning permit had it been that we not gotten a variance for the front yard setback in 2016.
Does the new addition and impact any of the reasons, does the new addition negate any of the reasons that were the basis for the prior variance?
No,
No.
not to the best of our knowledge.
Can you explain why you believe that?
It's, what we originally received the variance for was a front porch in Cape May, was the one thing the house was missing. It is an open front porch, which I think is very favorable for what we did. So I don't feel that in any way the rear addition is going to harm the fact that we have an open front porch. I think if we were here for everything tonight, we'd probably still grant variance for the front porch because it's a front porch on a house in Cape May. And we're in line with all the other older homes on the street. They all have front porches. Some are enclosed, some are open, but they all pretty much match our front yard setback.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. I would like to go over the memorandum for this application dated August 18, 2026. This is an application for zoning review approval under section 52573E. As the applicant has indicated, that section is triggered and it says, in the event that any documentation exists that any such nonconformity is outlined in subsections B, C, or D above, originally the result of a variance relief from any other, either the Cape May City Planning Board or Zoning Board, then any further expansion of the structure shall not be permitted without approvals from either the Planning Board or the Zoning Board, whichever is applicable. And I believe that the intent of this is so that if you guys grant variances and they're done under with certain conditions or under in a certain light of how the applicant demonstrated that those variances are appropriate, the test here is kind of what Rich just asked. Does this new addition impact any of the things that the original variance was granted, the reasons for granting the original variance? I think that's the appropriate test for an analysis for approving this. So in that light, I'll just go over just briefly. I did review, it's a two-story rear addition. It wholly conforms within the setbacks. So meets all of the bulk and area standards with regards to setbacks. With regards to, is the lot overdeveloped? It is under the minimum lot coverage. It is under the maximum floor area ratio. So it complies with that. The lot is not being overdeveloped. I did review the resolution from 2016. I don't believe that this addition negatively impacts or is in juxtaposition of the reasons why the original variance were granted, and therefore I believe that that you guys can grant approval for the zoning review.
Craig, I have a quick question. If the lot is undersized, wouldn't that automatically require them to have a variance if they're put on an addition?
No.
No?
The
Okay.
ordinance says, there's a provision in the ordinance that allows undersized lots. You can put an addition on so long as you're not encroaching in any of the setbacks and you meet all of the other bulk and area standards.
Okay, so this new addition would not be, the setbacks would be met?
Correct. Pretend you never granted the front porch
Right.
variance, they could go pull a building permit for this without even coming to see.
Okay, I was just concerned because of that building, the lot being undersized. I just thought that would trigger the need for a variance.
We have a provision in the ordinance that recognizes that there are a ton of undersized lots out there in Cape May, and so long as you can comply with the bulk and area requirements, you're allowed to put an addition on your property.
Okay, thank you.
I know we don't get a lot of these, so what I suggest you do when you get these is read the prior resolution, or if you want the minutes, ask Karen for the minutes, and look at the reasons why you gave the variance before. For example, suppose the reason they wanted to put the front porch on this house was because there was a big tree in the back that made them have to move forward instead of back on anything they built. Okay, and you say, okay, that's a reason to go into the front setback because you can't go backwards because there's a tree there. And now they come in now and they say, yeah, we're putting a new addition on the back and we're taking down that tree. Well, wait a minute, we gave you a variance for the front because you said you couldn't go back, and now you're going back. So why would we do that? You shouldn't have gotten the first variance. So basically, it's a check to make sure that when you guys approve these, or they say, oh, let us subdivide this and put this little house here on undersized lot, because it's a nice little historic house and it's really tiny and pretty. Okay, and then they come back a year later and they want to make it into the full maximum size that can be built in the lot. And so, well, wait a minute, you got a variance to divide it into an undersized lot because you're building a small house. Now you're putting a big house. That's not why we subdivided this. Say no, because if you don't do that, then the building inspector just looks and says, oh, this doesn't need a variance. It fits on the lot. And then, so basically people come in and do chunks. And we've had that happen. We had to do a swimming pool kind of situation where they kind of convinced us to move the whole house forward, and then they built a swimming pool in the back and it was all done in pieces. We're like, wait a minute, we're getting duped. So that's what this is designed for. In this situation, you'll see in the resolution, the reason they justified the front porch was that a bunch of houses on the street had front porches, but they couldn't do the averaging or something along those
There was
lines.
only 3 lots. There needs.
Yeah, there's only 3 lots, so but they built where all the other front porches were. They didn't use the big backyard as a reason to do that. So the fact that they're building the backyard now is perfectly, to me, this makes perfect sense. So that's what you're looking for. So this would just be a majority vote, so that, unless there's further discussion, open the public, sorry.
I just housekeeping, items 1 through 9 in my report should be conditions of approval. And we did receive resolution number 2026-34 from the HPC, and they did issue a certificate of appropriateness for the proposed addition, and notice of conceptual approval. So,
Craig, I had to ask Karen, and she said that nobody didn't have to be notified. If you just want to put that on the record.
there's no variances associated with it, so there's no.
Yeah, there's no variance, although in my mind, I'm thinking whether we should change that. But no, there's no variances, so I don't know statutorily or in the ordinance why they would have to give notice for that.
Okay.
Although, I'm going to rethink that. Karen, can you make a note of that for our year-end review when we talk about things? Because if it needed a variance the first time and now you're coming in to see if you are negating the basis for the prior variance, it seems to me that's something we should probably require notice for. At least have the board discuss it and decide what to do about it. That's a good question.
Okay,
But right now, I don't think it's a prior.
will do. Thank you.
Okay? All right.
Okay, at this time, we'll open it up to anyone within 200 feet of the property. Anyone beyond 200 feet of the property. So we'll close it to the public and ask you for a resolution.
Okay. The motion that I recommend being made in the affirmative, but how you vote is up to you, is a motion to approve a zoning review under section 525-73E with the associated conditions outlined by the board engineer in his report dated August 18, 2026. If there's any conditions that are in the first variance that aren't in this one, you still have to comply with those conditions. There probably aren't. This was a fairly simple thing, but just this one doesn't negate anything that was obligated to do the first time, okay? All right, that's a motion to recommend be made. How you vote is up to you.
I make a motion?
Ms. Sheehan motions, Mrs. Notch seconds. Mr. Lewin?
Yes.
Mrs. Notch?
Yes.
Ms. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Zexer?
Yes.
Mr. Venuto?
Yes.
Mrs. Werner?
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Go have dinner.
Okay, our next application this evening is TS 1015 Beach LLC, 1015 Beach Avenue.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. Keith Davis, Nemeth Davis Goldstein on behalf of TS 1015 Beach LLC. Also happens to be the street address of the property in question. It's designated on your tax map as Block 1095, Lot 3. This application is part of an overall renovation that is being undertaken of an existing home on the property, but the variance that's before you only relates to an existing detached garage behind that structure, which has closer frontage on Stockton Avenue. It's a lot that goes block to block from Beach to Stockton. The detached garage has a very small residential unit on the second floor, which is not permitted by your ordinance. The proposal is to relocate that existing detached garage so that it's centered on the lot, essentially fronting Stockton Avenue. Because we're relocating it, arguably, we are exacerbating an existing non-conforming use. So we've sought a D2 variance under the municipal land use law in order to allow for that relocation to occur. The structure itself is not becoming any larger in terms of square footage. As you hear from our architect, it will be slightly higher than at its current elevation. Right now, it sits within the setback. By moving it to the center of the lot, we'll be eliminating that existing nonconformity that exists currently. So that's the nature of the application. I have with me on behalf of the applicant, Bruce Worrell, our project architect, Deborah Sloan-White, and our professional planner, Tiffany Morrissey. With your permission, I'd like to have those three witnesses sworn in.
Do each of you, please raise your right hand. Our board engineer remains under oath. Do each of you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Do you want me to proceed? I don't know if you want to deal with completeness first. I think you have recommended completeness in your memo, Mr. Hurlis.
Yeah, I would
Conditionally.
just roll right into your testimony. I'll do the completeness review. I don't think there were a couple of items that I recommended as conditions of approval. At the end, you can just verify that you substantially agree with the conditions that I recommended or not.
Excellent, thank you. So, Mr. Worrell, I'm going to start with you. The applicant's TS 1015 Beach LLC. Can you explain what your relationship is to the owner of the property?
Okay. Well, my name is Bruce Worrell, and Bob and Donna,
That for me, Bruce?
Worrall, Worrell.
Oh, I knew it was going to happen. Auto-corrected and made it something. All right, so you're Bruce Worrell.
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
Can you say, and what's your relationship again?
I am Bob and Donna Platzer. The owners are my in-laws.
The son-in-law.
Yes. And this is a multi-generational house that my family all uses during the summer months and a little bit in the off-season, but primarily our family. It's not rented out. It's something that we, cherish and look to hold for a very long time in our family.
So you use it personally with your family? You're obviously familiar with all the existing structures on the property?
Yeah, I'm pretty much running property maintenance for it in the off-season as well as during the season. So I'm very familiar with all the structures and everything on the site.
So you engaged your architect, Deborah Sloan-White, to prepare a design. We submitted those plans with the application. Can you just generally describe what's the purpose of the renovation expansion of the home, and then we can get into the garage structure?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the purpose is our family's growing. I have 3 kids, and we have other cousins in the family that come and visit. So what we're doing is we're proposing an addition on the main house off the rear, as well as opening up the front porch sunroom back to its original historical state. We are also proposing to move the cottage house to the rear of the property on Stockton Avenue. For us, this will create a space in between the 2 structures where we would like to put a pool. We believe, thanks to Deborah and her team and the thoughtful design, that we are keeping the historical charm of the existing house.
And the lot, as I indicated, it goes block to block, Beach to Stockton, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
You don't have any access to Beach Avenue to the lot, is that correct?
No, we don't currently have access to Beach Avenue. However, we do have a curb cut out front, but through the Historical Society meeting and talking it over, we realized that that's something that the town doesn't want to, entertain, having parking in the front off a beach. So, we are totally willing to forfeit that in our current design.
So all your access in terms of driveway for on-site parking is via Stockton?
That's correct. Everything in and out is coming off of Stockton.
And by relocating the, what you call the cottage house, I call the garage, same
Yes,
structure, right?
same structure.
Will that, and Ms. Sloan-White can testify to this further, but do you think that'll provide some more efficiency in terms of providing for off-street parking on the lot in question?
Yes. Yeah.
You've been in that garage cottage structure?
Yes.
Can you just describe generally what it consists of?
Okay. When you see it from the pictures that was provided, it's a garage door. The first floor is strictly just an open storage garage. We use it for beach equipment, bikes, things of that nature. To the rear of the property, as you can see in the picture in the bottom right, is a staircase that leads up to the second floor apartment. That's a one-bedroom, small full bath upstairs, you can see from the pictures. And we have no intention of changing that. We love it. We love its character. And a family member of ours, the owner's sister, stays in that primarily. So, and she's in her mid-60s. She loves it.
Can I ask you to just expound on the location of the stairwell in that structure? Is that located in the rear, like appendage off to the side?
That is correct. Yeah, it's a
in the,
good
in the
word.
bottom right photo of that exhibit?
Yes.
For purposes of the record tonight, I marked this as sheet V9 of what we filed, but I marked it for tonight Exhibit A1, which shows the photographs of the cottage/garage structure.
Could someone just point out where the stairwell is on that bottom right photo?
It's in this little
Okay.
rear garage, and you walk in this door, you are facing the stair that wraps up and takes you to the second floor, which is the apartment, or the bedroom. We did go, I myself went out and site verified, so we have this variance board itself. T8, which will be exhibit number 2, illustrating the idea that you come in again through that back smaller section, up the stair, up to the second floor space. The garage is accessed from the shop.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I forgot. You need to have a microphone, please. Thank you.
So here, starting kind of back at the beginning. Oh, hello.
Keith, you need one too.
Good evening. I am Deborah Sloan-White, the architect on the project. I'm a partner with Asher Sloan-White and Partners Architects. I've been before you all several years.
Any
several
questions about her
times.
qualifications in architecture, Madam Chair?
No.
Can we stipulate to her qualifications? Great, thank you.
So taking a step back, the garage access. So this garage has a small wing off of the back, a door that comes from the backyard. You walk in, there's a stair in front of you that leads directly upstairs to this one open space. It is a bedroom. It has a refrigerator and a sink. It also has a very small bathroom that is built here into this dormer. The ground floor of this garage building, as shown here, is in fact large enough to accommodate a legal parking space in today's world. It does also have windows. There is no plumbing on the ground floor aside from a hose bib, and that garage entry is in fact separate from, or I should say the habitable space is accessed through an entry that is separate from where the cars are parked. They are two separate doors. Does that answer everyone's questions?
And both of those structures are going to be moved?
The entire structure, yes, including the little tail, will be picked up and moved. As Keith alluded to, we are not expanding the structure in any way. It will literally, the same footprint will be picked up and moved to a conforming place within the site. We are requesting this evening a variance to lift the garage about 9.5 inches. The first 1.5 inches is because it currently sits on one brick. One brick protects this historic structure from flooding. We are hoping to put it on a full concrete block, so that is an 8-inch block. We're also, by relocating it from the edge of the site to the center of the site, it's going up 1.5 inches in elevation. So the earth it will be placed on is roughly 1.5 inches above the earth it currently sits on. It currently sits on one brick. We're hoping to push it. Overall height difference will be 9.5 inches. The existing ridge does not conform with current zoning code for the building height.
Can you tell us what that information is? What is the current
The current height,
height and what is the proposed building?
the existing garage ridge height as verified by our survey is 25.17. We are proposing the new garage ridge height to be 26 feet.
Can you say that again? I didn't catch.
Oh, of course. The existing garage ridge height is at elevation 25.17, which means its height above adjacent grade is roughly 20 feet 9 3/4 inch. We are proposing to raise that garage ridge height to elevation 26, which is 21 foot 5 3/4 above adjacent grade.
Okay.
So again, it's a roughly 9.5-inch lift that the ridge height will be above the current.
Mr. Davis, can you just have someone put on the record how long that's been a living unit, just so I have it in there
Yes,
somewhere?
I was going to ask that question. Have you been inside the unit?
I have been inside the unit.
And generally, you're an architect. Are you familiar with trying to determine the age of structures by looking at the fit and finish within and outside of the unit?
Definitely. Our firm works extensively in Cape May in these historic homes. I would say based on the flooring alone, that this unit has been finished for greater than 20 years. The bathroom clearly has gone through a more recent remodel than that, but the everything in the garage would lead you to believe that this has been here a long time.
Okay. And going back to A2, I know Mr. Hurlis asked whether or not a standard size motor vehicle could fit within the garage. I see you've put some dimensions on there. Can that be accommodated?
Definitely.
Okay. Why don't we look at the overall site, if we could, on V2, which I will mark as A3. This shows the overall plan of development, including the main house, which is being renovated and expanded, correct?
Correct.
All right, let's mark that as A3. It's your sheet V2. Can you just walk the board through where all the structures are, what the adjacent streets are, and where the subject garage is going to be located?
Of course. The home faces on Beach Ave here. The ocean would be behind me. Existing historic home is outlined here. As Bruce offered in his testimony, there's an existing porch that is currently glassed in. We are planning to remove that glass and return it to the open air porch that it would have been when the home was built. We are adding, there's a small L off the rear of that home, which according to the historic reports appears to be an addition, old addition, but still an addition. We are encapsulating that small L with a larger addition and an open porch on the rear of the home. By relocating the garage currently sits closer to the home. By pushing it towards Stockton and centering it, we are able to legally conform with zoning to place a pool kind of in the center of the lot. We did work extensively with the HPC to get their blessing in this process and protect the integrity of the streetscape in Cape May. The pool will be hidden from the street. It is kind of core and more private for the homeowners.
Did you look at the floor area ratio with respect to the home that's being expanded and the residential unit above the garage? Does it comply with the ordinance?
It does.
Okay.
Can I just clarify that? Those two combined,
Correct.
Correct.
that wasn't totally clear. Those two things combined still are under the floor area ratio.
All of the existing plus the addition, including the apartment or the space above the garage, all added up together still conforms with your floor area ratio. It's a very large piece of land.
So the variance only relates to the garage cottage structure, correct?
Correct.
Are there some aesthetic benefits in terms of locating it within the center of the lot versus where it is now that would aid in advancing the benefits associated with this variance?
It will, for sure. I mean, we are relocating it. It currently sits about 2 feet off of the property line. So by bringing it off of the property line, more centrally locating it on the lot, we are providing, more space around it, light, air, and open space, and it also predominantly will protect the pool, create a more private courtyard for that pool.
Right, and that's a benefit to the public too, because the cottage will provide a visual obstruction to the pool from Stockton.
Exactly.
Okay. One of the purposes of zoning is to provide a desirable visual environment through creative development techniques, good civic design and arrangement. Do you think, based upon your testimony tonight, we've advanced that purpose?
I do.
That's all I have for Ms. Sloan-White. Any other questions as to architecture? Oh, did you look at Mr. Hurlis' report?
I did.
Did we take any issue with the comments raised? I know we'll talk about it, but
Not at all. I think the first two you had, we've generated the drawing that you requested, the floor plan, and the photos were also
I
submitted.
would just ask, one thing is that you just confirm that none of the improvements will require a variance from our minimum first floor elevation requirements. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure that you don't need any more variances. A lot of times when people try and pull permits, they will get flagged for that. None of that elevation information was on the plans, and I was unable to evaluate it. So I just want to make sure that she was aware of that. Thank you.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you, Deborah.
Excuse me,
Yes, of course.
did I understand you to say there was plumbing on the first floor of the garage?
There's a hose bib,
Pardon?
just a hose, a spigot.
Okay. but
That's
I
it.
wanted that- More than that.
No, no, the homeowner has no intention. The garage is used, there's a lot of storage in that space. That is what it will be continued to be used for.
And before you sit down, Deborah, let's mark this exhibit as A4. It's your sheet V4. Is this a rendering of the renovation that's being proposed?
Exactly. These are renderings that were generated to go before the HPC and also just really well illustrate the intention of the project. The view from Beach Ave, you can see we're reopening this front porch to be open air. The current window system is atrocious. The backyard, you can see we are adding an addition with a covered porch, a pool structure, and then the garage. We are planning for extensive landscaping. The landscaping plan will be updated per Mr. Hurlis's comments. And then again, just a view from Stockton of that historic building.
I see you're putting the brick pavers in. That's new, right?
Yes, right now it is predominantly, there's an existing concrete driveway and some grass.
And what does that do to the lot coverage?
We are still within our lot coverage.
Okay.
It does increase it, but we are still kept within the allowable.
Any other questions as to architecture?
How many trees are being removed?
It's a very good question. We do have a Shade Tree Commission letter that was granted. They said as long as we conform with the proposed landscape drawing, which we already looked at, was on this page. This rendering was generated by the landscape architect. All the plant list is included here in the left-hand corner. The Shade Tree Commission said as long as we conform with this planting plan, which is the full intention, we are allowed to make the changes to the property.
23 new plants or trees,
Um,
according to what the
Whatever,
tree says.
yes. Whatever's on this list is what they said was okay.
Okay, the shade tree.
We did have the shade tree. We did run it past them, yes.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Deborah. I'd like to call Ms. Morrissey forward. You want to sit?
It's a lot easier. I don't need to point to the exhibits.
All right. Mrs. Morrissey has been before this board in the past as a professional planner. Can we stipulate to her qualifications this evening?
I know you've been before us, so you're accepted.
Thank you. And my license is still current, valid, and in good standing.
So, Mrs. Morrissey, you've been engaged to provide planning testimony concerning the D2 variance that has been described tonight. You were here for all the testimony that's been proffered up to this point.
I have been.
You're familiar with the site, and you've reviewed the plans that we've submitted?
I have.
Do you have an opinion as a planner as to whether or not the D2 variance we're seeking is warranted?
I do.
And for what reasons?
So as we indicated, this is an existing non-conforming condition with the living accommodations over the garage, which is a historic part of this property. The D2 criteria is a use variance, but it's not, starting from scratch type thing. It's showing what the improvements are and the benefits are associated with what we are changing. And so the change here is really multifold because it involves the entirety of the property. But the primary benefit to the change is that this existing structure, which now has a setback of, I believe it's 2.5 feet on one side and 6.86 feet on another side, because there's another building that's coming down as part of this that will not be replaced, will now have setbacks of 19 feet and 14.5 feet where 8 feet is required. So there's an overall improvement just to the open space in the side yards on this property in terms of the setback requirements. Additionally, there's substantial improvements that go along with the property in terms of the overall aesthetic improvement to remove features that are not really true to the historic nature of the property, including the improvements that would involve removing the access on Beach Avenue, which is a positive improvement as well, providing an on-street parking space and taking that parking out of out of the front yard on one of your primary corridors. We have the secondary variance associated with the relocation of this building for the height that we discussed. That just brings it up just enough so that we can protect that structure that is part of the historic nature of this property and give it that flood protection that's required in this location where it's at. This property is unique in its own realm in this location. It is the only property that is a through lot between Beach and Stockton in this block. You have a variety of uses, a motel use and other single-family residential uses. This is one of the larger lots that's associated with a single-family dwelling. This property is 14,370 square feet in size with a 50-foot lot width. This lot could technically be subdivided and contain 2 homes. So the improvements that we're making on this property, while they require that D variance because we're relocating that cottage structure with the living accommodation above it, is still less than what could be accommodated if we were to subdivide and create a new structure. We believe there's benefits associated with that go towards the municipal land use law improvements, goals and objectives. First and foremost, in my professional opinion, under the D2 criteria, this relocation of this structure will encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate use or development of all lands in the state in a manner which promote the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. It also goes towards the purpose to secure safety from fire, flood, panic, and other natural man-made disasters as it relates to the increased height for that structure. That is an accessory structure, so that is a bulk variance for the increase in that height, and that height is a 9-inch difference. We also believe we advance the purpose of zoning to provide adequate light, air, and open space. Not only are we increasing those side yard setbacks from 2.5 feet to 19 feet and just about 7 feet to over 14 feet, we are compliant with your floor area ratio. Your floor area ratio would allow a 0.65. Our floor area ratio, including the living accommodation over the garage, is 0.478 or 0.479. So we are less than allowed for that. Additionally, we are under for your lot coverage. We are less than 45% on lot coverage. So we're not overdeveloping this property in order to make these changes. Additionally, in my professional opinion, because this lot is substantially oversized and could be subdivided, the relocation and maintaining of this structure with the living accommodation would promote the purpose of zoning to create and promote the establishment of appropriate population densities and concentrations that contribute to the well-being of persons, neighborhoods, communities, regions, and preservation of the environment. And lastly, as our architect testified to, the application would promote a desired visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangement. Because of all these improvements, I think you can find that the positive criteria are advanced, that this site has a unique aspect to it that allows for this use to be continued in its reconfigured arrangement that benefits the community and advances those purposes of zoning. In terms of the negative criteria, I do not believe if you grant this application that it rises to the level of causing a substantial impairment of your zoning ordinance or a substantial detriment to the public good or a substantial impairment of your master plan. Specifically, we are meeting all of the bulk requirements on this property. The variance that's required is because we're relocating the structure and maintaining that historic portion of this property and improving it to bring it back. Those pictures went away, but to improve the existing aesthetic to something that is much nicer. And that advances all those purposes in your master plan, protecting your historic district, protecting your properties, adding that open space between properties, not exceeding the floor area ratio or the lot coverage, and improving those setbacks. In terms of the substantial detriment to the public good, again, there are other benefits associated with this application because of what we are doing that benefit the public good, not just that improved open space, but again, going back to the Beach Avenue removal of that curb cut and putting all access on Stockton is an improvement to the overall community and advances the public good. We have received Historic Preservation Commission approval, and we've worked with the Shade Tree Commission to ensure that everything that we're doing on this property meets all of the high standards that you look for in your historic district and in Cape May itself. For those reasons, I believe you can grant this application and the benefits would substantially outweigh the detriments.
Thank you, Tiffany. Any questions as to planning?
Okay. Let's go ahead.
I don't have a question, but I just appreciate the fact that you're not demolishing the garage, that you're actually moving it and renovating it.
Thank you. I think that was a big part of what was important to this overall development plan.
We're actually demolishing what I would argue that the unsightly addition off the one side,
Oh,
Yes.
okay, okay. That's-
which I view as an improvement.
That's it.
Which the HPC found to be non-contributing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead with Craig's report.
Are you guys done with your?
That concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Okay, summarizing my July 7th, 2026 review memorandum for this application. This is an application for a use variance. You've heard testimony from the applicants indicating what is proposed, so I'm not going to bore you with telling you that again. With regards to the checklist requirements and the completeness review, they did request a waiver from item 2. I supported that. Item 5, they had not provided, but I recommended it be provided as a condition of approval. I believe they prepared Exhibit A2, if I got my exhibits right, which are the plans and elevations of the carriage house cottage or whatever.
That's
we
right.
call it.
That's right, exhibit.
Okay, so that addresses it. I have not reviewed that, but that submission is going to be required as a condition of approval. So I did support, just making sure that they provided that. Item 18 and 27 should be provided as conditions of approval. And based on those recommendations, I did support deeming this application complete. With regards to the variance, you've heard testimony from the applicants. I don't take any exception to that. I'll just note that the reason why this is triggering the use variance is the fact that our ordinance says that each site shall have only one principal building or use. In this case, we have 2. The second one is a detached garage that has living accommodations over it. That's not a permitted use anywhere in the city, certainly not in this district. So therefore, any modifications to those structures or uses trigger the use variance. So that's what your analysis is going to be. They did ask for another variance tonight. And that is for the height of that structure, right?
Correct.
And they gave us that data, and at the bottom of page 3 of 7, on the bottom table, I have a couple of eyes where the height is. There's a maximum height of 18 foot for those accessory detached garages. In this case, she indicated, she being the architect, the existing height is 20 feet, 9 3/4 inches.
That is above adjacent grade, correct?
Above the adjacent grade, and it's proposed at 21 feet, 5 3/4 inches.
Correct.
Okay, so there's a variance necessary for that. So 2 variances. All of the other bulk and area criteria with regards to the additions that are proposed on the other structure meet the bulk and area requirements, don't trigger any other necessary variances. The site is adequately parked. I agree with the applicant. The lot coverage is under the 45% maximum that's allowed. Their floor area ratio is below the 0.65 ratio that's permitted. Their plan indicated 0.49, but I think Ms. Morrissey's testimony was 0.479. I don't know what that.
I think there was we went in and, well, Deborah, you can explain.
So when I prepared the FAR chart, I did not have the benefit of actually measuring the space in the garage apartment. So I had listed it on the chart around 519 square feet. When I actually went out and measured it, it is less.
Okay.
So that 0.49 came down to 0.48.
So the 0.479 is accurate.
That was in your email.
Yes. Say, it
Okay.
is written on,
It went in a better direction. I just want to make sure that the record reflects
Yes.
what your testimony is, because
What's going to make
Mr.
all the difference?
Mr. King uses my report as
as
his template for the resolution.
it is also illustrated on the drawing that I did for the garage, the revised FAR chart, because it did in fact change.
Okay. Okay, thank you for the update. So that's a summary of the variances.
Hey, could you go back for a second? You said there's a second variance. Is there something more particular you want me to put in there for that, or just say height variance of
It's a
accessory structure?
accessory structure height
All right, I'm
variance.
just going to call it that, then. You don't need the number. You're good. Okay.
Ah,
All right.
Under page 5 of 7, I have my general review comments. As usual, these should be conditions of approval. Item 1 is been addressed under section of their Exhibit A2. That would just be required to be reviewed as condition of approval. Item 2, I asked them just to revise. There's a reference to this property being in the R2 zoning district. It is certainly in the RS district, so we would ask the plans be revised. Item 3 is just some plan revisions. Item 4, I asked the architect to verify that they are conforming with the lowest floor elevation requirements that we have so that there's no variances necessary. And she did confirm that the maximum building height is being exceeded on that accessory structure. So she's addressed that through testimony. Item 5 is our standard condition that they have to comply with Chapter 258, which is our flood damage protection code. Item 6 is just a plan revision. Item 7 is our standard condition that they revise the zoning table consistent with the variances that the board grants tonight. Item 8 is recognition that they have to comply with our safety regulations for our site triangles for driveways, and their landscaping plan has to be redesigned to comply. Item 9 is the review of the stormwater requirements and stormwater system that is being provided. We did support the design of the system, providing that they address the other comments in the report, and there was just some technical comments under item number 10 and 11, as well as 12 is our standard condition that they comply with the minimum grading and stormwater management requirements of Chapter 525. We've asked them to confirm and revise the parking calculations, but as I indicated, the reviews of 5 parking spaces that are proposed adequately address the parking demands on the site. Item 14 is the request for them to provide information on the sewer and water services and other utilities that are being provided, particularly to the rear building that's being relocated. We need to make sure that those connections are properly done and don't conflict with any of the other improvements.
I'm sorry, and Craig, they only put in what was there previously, right? So you're not adding on additional bathrooms?
No. No, correct. Yeah. So they're moving the building over and they're going to have to be relocating utilities accordingly. Okay. 15 is the requirements for providing the landscaping and vegetation plan. 16 addresses the 6 trees that are being removed. There is a 2-for-1 replacement, so they have to verify that they're at least providing 12 new trees. I think Shade Tree Commission indicated that they're providing more than that, so I don't think that's going to be an issue. 17 is our standard condition, just to evaluate the sidewalk after construction. 18 talks about the widening of the curb improvements at Stockton Avenue, but I also wanted to piggyback another comment from myself that I picked up on during the beginning of the testimony. They indicated that there's a curb cut at Beach Avenue. We would ask that that curb cut, since it's not being used, to be improved so that there's vertical curb provided there so that there's no potential for people parking in your front lawn
Of course.
on Beach Avenue.
There's,
I mean, there's a meter. They already put a meter out front.
Yeah, there's
spot?
there's
Yeah.
striped parking
Striped parking
spaces
spaces.
within the right of
Well, I
way there.
agree. I mean, the
So
improvement needs to be made.
the physical, you're already doing curb work on Stockton. We would ask that Beach Avenue be done so that, you know, a future owner could take the fence down and utilize that front lawn parking, and we don't want to see that. Okay? So that's a modification to that. 19, 20, all of these other comments are standard conditions of approval. I just would like to reflect that they have to comply with the fire department's review. They recommended approval dated 7/14/26, no comments. Public Works recommended approval dated 7/22/26, no comments. Shade Tree recommended approval with following conditions dated 7/28/26, and that says the Approval to remove the trees referenced in the application with the explicit condition that new proposed landscaping plan be followed. 23 new trees as referenced on the site diagram submitted, issued 4/28/26. Sounds like you're in agreement with that. That's all of the reports that I received.
Can I
That's-
just, I did the math on the floor area ratio myself, so I just wanted to check the table. And we just have a square footage of 6,889 square feet, where we're allowed 9,340 square feet of a 14,370 square foot lot. So in case I mathed wrong, I wanted you to have the whole numbers.
Did you get that, Rich?
I put the chart.
Okay,
I put
that's
the
fine.
chart in the resolution.
I just
Either
wanted to
like the
make
chart or don't like the chart. That's what's going to be in the resolutions.
We're going to love it.
There you go. You got the
I
chart.
did the division and,
The record will stand.
yeah, I just wanted to clarify.
So that is a summary of my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions or comments that the board has.
And we agree with all those comments as a condition of approval.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board?
Nope.
Okay. At this time, we'll open it up to anyone within 200 feet of the property. Anyone beyond 200 feet? Closed to the public. We have 6.
6, I noticed.
Did you notice that?
I did notice.
I'm sorry. I
That's
usually,
okay.
I always say it.
I
but know
noticed.
I didn't fix that. All right. So, I'm sorry, are you done? Okay. So they need 5. Normally out of 7, there's only 6 of you. So if you're going to vote no, make your reasons clear. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying make your reasons clear, because if they get 2 no votes, it's rejected. Okay? We're going to vote on it as a whole because it was presented as a whole and all the justifications sort of merge into one another. So the motion I'd recommend being made, but how you vote is up to you, is a motion to grant variances 1 and what is now 2 on the engineer's report on page 4 of 7, which includes accessory structure height variance down to the quarters of inches as outlined by the applicant, subject to the waivers conditions outlined in the engineer's report, including number 26, that the applicant will curb the curb cut on Beach Avenue. There's another one, I thought. Oh, and that plan A2, the engineer is going to make sure that it satisfies whatever it was he was looking for in terms of elevation. And you're doing it under your vote is that you apply the D2 standard, which is not a real use variance, but it gets some credit for having existed previously. And you have to find that the property can accommodate this, whatever increase that you're seeing there. And the experts gave you the reasons why they believe it does that. And the C2 variance is your balancing standard that incorporated by reference from the engineer's report. Whether the benefits outweigh any detriments, substantially outweigh, and whether there's a substantial negative impact on the zone plan or zoning ordinance or the neighborhood. Okay, that's the motion I recommend being made, but how you vote is up to you.
I make the motion?
Second.
Ms. Sheehan motions, Mr. Lewin seconds. Mr. Lewin,
Yes.
Mrs. Notch,
Yes.
Ms. Sheehan,
Yes.
Mr. Zexer,
Yes.
Mr. Venuto,
Yes.
Mrs. Werner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nice to see everyone.
Good job, everybody, very efficiently done.
Back to you.
It's important to do.
Was.
No, the church property was all the way over by the motel.
Because I went through it.
I thought it was the one,
Larry and I were gonna buy
I
it.
thought it was the one that was closest on the left side.
We have one, but that one, it was 18.
I don't know what.
Frank Moore sold it out. Larry and I were gonna buy it. Sold it. I want that.
I was wondering who was in the audience, but those were the other group.
Just a second.
Hello, Mr. Monzo, how are you?
There you go, Rich, pass it down.
Hey. Oh, just leave it at the bottom.
Thank you.
Is there enough there, Craig?
Hmm?
Is there enough for everyone?
I think so. There's only 3 more of us, and it looks like there's about 5 minutes.
Okay, our next application is the Hotel Alcott, Huntington House LLC, 107 Grant Street.
Hey, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. Anthony Monzo from Monzo Catanese Delalis, representing the applicant Huntington House LLC. With me tonight, to my left, Curtis Bashall, who's the principal owner of the applicant. To my right, I have Paul Cates, who's a professional engineer and planner, who will provide testimony in support of the variances, and also Rich Stokes, who's the architect for the project, and he'll explain the project, and you may have to address some of the issues with respect to flood code compliance. So I just want to give a little bit of background on this.
Excuse me, can you just bring that mic a little closer? Thank you so
Is
much.
that better? Okay. So,
Keep it close. You move it up and then you move it back.
so this is an application for the Hotel Alcott, which is 107 Grant Street. Mr. Bashall and his team purchased this property in 2021 and have owned it since. In the exhibits that we handed out, we have the first set of exhibits are A1. There's about 4 photos, which are renderings of what is being proposed for this project. The second set of exhibits, A2, are existing conditions. And just notably on the existing conditions, in the rear of the building, there are metal fire stairs that are proposed to be replaced with a tower, so there are inside steps for fire egress. There's also in the back of the building, there's an existing single-story portion of it that is, I think, mainly used for kitchen to service the restaurant. That is going to be removed and replaced with a courtyard that will have a swimming pool and some green landscaping with some trees and shrubbery. We have as Exhibit A3 several mercantile licenses that have been issued since the applicant acquired the property, continuing to show its use as a 31-room hotel with a 130-seat restaurant. And the last exhibit is A4, which is a copy of the report from the HPC granting conceptual approval of this project. For the record, this is a key contributing building in the historic district. So this is an important application that will not only enhance the use of it, but also preserve the building for many years. So what's being proposed is basically a reduction of the intensity of use with a proposal to eliminate 88 restaurant seats. So the restaurant seat count will go down from 130 to 42. I just want to note that there are some inconsistencies on the plan, and it's in Mr. Hurlis's review memo. We had 34 restaurant seats, but there's actually 42. And the number of rooms will go down will go from 31 to 38. So the rooms will increase 31 to 39, I'm sorry. So the number of rooms will increase by 8, and the number of restaurant seats will decrease by 88. What's important is because of that, it's a drastic reduction in the number of parking spaces that are required for this property. The reduction that, by our count, are 23 spaces. So there's 23 spaces less than what is currently required as a 31-room hotel and a 130-seat restaurant. Regardless, because it's a non-conforming use, all the improvements that are being proposed, and again, there aren't many, there are the fire stairs, the 2 towers in the back There's the courtyard with a swimming pool. And there's a mechanical room that's being proposed on one side and a sauna on the other side, all inside the courtyard area. Nothing is protruding further back into the rear yard setback. As a result of that, it's also decreasing lot coverage by 5%, even though it's still non-conforming, but it's a better situation with more greenery in the back. But because, again, it's a non-conforming use, all of these improvements, even though it's enhancing the property, trigger a D2 expansion of a non-conforming use variance, and also would trigger just an approval of all of the existing non-conforming conditions. And there are a few that are outlined in Mr. Hurlis's review memo. We have a lot size variance with 10,000 square feet required and 9,560 feet existing and proposed. We have a building setback variance for Grant Street and North Street. There is a 0 setback for this building, and it's been like that forever. But 20 feet is required in this district. There's a side yard setback with 4 feet required and 1.3 feet existing, not being changed by this application. The lot coverage existing is 95%, 75% is the maximum in this zone. What's being proposed is 90%. And lastly, the number of parking spaces. Unfortunately, there are no off-street parking spaces. There's never has been for this property. The current requirement is 87 spaces based on the current use. What's being proposed is a requirement for 65 spaces. And as I stated earlier, that's a 22 parking space reduction. So with that background, I'd like to have Mr. Bashal just give you some perspective regarding the history of the site and his vision for these improvements. Mr. Bashal, you want to? First
Thank
of all,
you.
we can swear in the witnesses.
Okay, will each of you please raise your right hand? Each of you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you, Tony, and good evening, everybody. I remember this as the Huntington House when I was much younger, and Cookies Buffet, and a lot of fun times in that house upstairs when it was used as a dorm. But it was built at the time of the Summer Station development in the 1880s as a hotel, and it operated as a hotel for many years. And then eventually became more of a summer staff housing facility for many, many years as the Huntington House until Nick Niza bought it sometime in the 90s. I remember him well. We had just opened the Virginia in 89, and he wanted to do some projects in Cape May. He stayed with us a lot, and then he told me he was going to make the Huntington House nicer than the Virginia. So it was a friendly competition. And he did that renovation and opened it with the 31 rooms and the 130-seat restaurant. I think he called it the Veranda. And they used it for weddings in the off-season when the Veranda wasn't open. We acquired it after Nick's untimely death, and his sisters contacted us during COVID, and that led it to our acquisition. We always we knew we need more staff housing in town. We wanted to restore it as a hotel eventually. I'm happy to say that after 4 or 5 years of using it for our team members, we've acquired enough alternative staff housing in other locations so that we can, in fact, look at restoring this hotel. When we started to plan the restoration of the 31 rooms and the restaurant, we were just noodling on what kind of a restaurant would we use. And one day there was sort of a eureka moment where we said, do we need a restaurant that big in this property? And given how tight it is, and we already operate a hotel with no parking called the Virginia and have for 38 years, we thought it would be worth asking you folks if you agreed with us that reducing the seat count dramatically, and adding some guest rooms might be a better use for the neighborhood. We like the plan a lot. We were working towards just going in and saying, let's restore it as is. But we think there's a lot of great restaurants in town already, and our goal was really to make a property of a higher quality for the guest rooms, have amenities for the guests, including this small pool in the courtyard. The kitchen, which was added over time, sort of takes up the whole courtyard. If you've been in there, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but the open space in the courtyard is really not much bigger than where we're all sitting right now. So to demolish that kitchen space and add really the life safety issues, the metal stairs, are weighted and come down with the weight of people in an emergency. We felt like building appropriate fire towers would be safer for the property. Opening up the light and air a little bit, creating this greener space would be a nice use. The 8 guest rooms, we think, are a less intensive use, and it just has excited us to look at it that way. This has always been a self-park hotel. It never had any parking. It's massive lot coverage, but we think that these uses will be a real improvement for the property.
And for the record, also, we are requesting, although it's not a board approval, we're requesting a recommendation from this board at the request of the city manager on the elimination of an additional 2 meters for a loading zone. There's 1 loading zone already there. And that's mainly for check-in and check-out of vehicles that can park their car there for a few minutes, check in, and then leave and park their vehicle. So that's important, and it eliminates congestion. It limits people double parking in the street while they're checking in. So I think that's an important feature of this. And again, this board, we would ask for a recommendation for that. And also, the fire stairs that are being eliminated, they're actually further into the setback. And the building's already in the setback. So by eliminating those fire stairs, it's eliminating a significant setback violation, making it much better, and putting this fire escape.
The stairs are in the same,
inside
the
inside.
stairs are in the alley that you have to go through. So these fire stairs are there, and this will clean it up and make it better. The other thing with guest rooms, it's less intensive with staff. You don't need as many. We might need another housekeeper for 9 rooms, but a 130-seat restaurant requires a big team. And obviously, the city has a benefit from guest rooms because of the room tax. It's significant. This would be $100,000 based on our pro forma a year additional to the city from those guest rooms. There are 3 meters in front of the hotel right now. One is a 15-minute zone, which the hotel used for loading and unloading. We would really request a recommendation, as Tony said, to make all of those short-term parking spaces to facilitate the loading and unloading.
Can I ask I'm having a bad night hearing. Did you say removal of 2 spaces?
Well, there's one 15-minute loading zone that has a meter, but we're asking that the other 2 meters be removed as well. So there will be 3
So
loading
you're
zones.
looking for all 3?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please.
I did have a conversation with the city engineer regarding that. They were looking for you to approve the number of spaces as part of site plan approval. Ultimately, it will require city council approval. So it will be, whatever site plan that we approve will be conditioned on them going to city council and having them approve the removal of on-street spaces. My conversation with the city engineer evolved into how many spaces were appropriate, and both myself and he thought that 2 spaces would be appropriate. That's the recommendation that I'm going to make tonight to you, but ultimately, it's your decision, and they will need city approval for the removal of those on-street spaces.
I was clear until the very end.
Okay.
Is it the city's suggestion that they have the existing loading zone plus 2 spaces, or is the city just want
Just two.
Two total.
2 total.
They said
They said 3. They said the removal of 3 is what they're asking.
And you think, and you think having metered space is better than having maybe 4 cars at once trying to go to the hood? Okay.
So that,
Why do you, can you give some reasons for that?
well, on-street parking spaces are very valuable. This is a site that does not have any parking whatsoever.
So it's going to depend entirely upon the drop-off and pickup in front of the building.
Correctly, correct.
But
So unless I hear something different in testimony with the frequency of drop-offs and the demand, before I hear any of that, the loss of 3 on-street parking versus 2 I mean, ultimately,
Full disclosure,
Yeah.
this is where I walk to the beach, so I'm focused on that road. I'm not within 200 feet, but
Correct.
I'm just trying to figure out the
Well, I could give a little,
reasoning for having,
yeah,
40 guest rooms checking in on Saturday and having only, 30 feet instead of 50 feet.
But they used
do that
to
business.
check in, right?
What's
They
that?
used to check in without that.
they did.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not like it's something new.
Yeah.
Now, isn't there another, where's the loading and unloading zone at?
Right in front of the hotel, there's a 15-minute spot.
That's a loading and unloading zone?
That's what we're calling the loading.
Okay, I didn't know there was one on the side or not. or the
There's
back.
one around the corner on North Street that is in front of the Seaside. What's it called?
there's no parking on that side, right? On North.
No.
The Christian
Right.
retreat thing,
Yeah,
Yes, the Christian, the retreat.
the Seaside Christian retreat or something.
Yes, I think that's right. It has a small loading zone, a yellow stripe close to the corner on the north side of North Street. The south side of North Street doesn't allow any parking at all.
Okay, so that's a one-way street, is it?
It is a one-way
Right,
street.
so the reason that it's on that side is because it's a one-way street?
Yes.
Okay, so technically you could use that as a loading and unloading zone.
Well, the Seaside Resort has about 50 people that come to it.
Well, I'm just saying, because most loading zones in Cape May aren't designated, this is yours, you can't unload and unload
Oh, I
there.
know, I understand.
She's correct.
That one is not-
Anybody can use that loading
Right.
zone for
that one
deliveries.
is not unused.
So to give a little testimony, check-in time is usually at 3:00. You always have people that are on time. So that tends to be your most intense period of the number of people checking in. Not everybody checks in on the same day. Obviously, in the off-season, you get more weekend business. So Fridays can have more check-ins in the off-season than, say, a summer day where it's more evenly spaced because people are coming and going all season. So the good news about that is there's generally less people in town in the fall and winter weekends than there are in the summer. But for us, it's a clean, in front of that porch, in front of the building, it's sort of a clean strip. So that's why we looked at keeping the 15-minute zone a short-term parking and then taking away 2 meters to add to that so that the front of the hotel was available for guest loading and unloading and not blocking up the street.
Is there some middle ground that could be done where you'd have 2 spaces that have no meter and then another space where during the peak check-in and check-out, that meter is not available? Like, you see what I'm saying? Because really those meters get used the most during the beach hours. I mean, that's kind of where it seems to happen the most. So, in terms of the meters being used. But it seems like you really only need that space for, it sounds like, 2.
Well, people, checkout time is 11 a.m. And then check-in time is 3. So there's a push for people to get their things and leave around 11, and then there's another arrival period at 3.
So that's all in one day, right?
what if they were all converted to 15-minute meters?
Well, the 15-minute,
And
I don't think there's a meter there. It just says 15 minutes. So that would be amazing. We would support that because we have one in front of the Virginia, and oftentimes other people don't. I mean, we have to police that. So because of the lot coverage issue, we just thought that was a recommendation. The rooms are very lucrative, far more than a meter in terms of revenue to the city, but in terms of convenience for, we know parking's scarce in Cape May.
Yeah, I'm not trying to talk anybody with me. I just wanted to hear the thought process, because it sounds to me like for only a 6-hour period during one day of the week, that big space is really necessary, and the rest of it could be metered and the town can make money. So I'm just trying to see if there's a way that,
I'm not
Well,
sure it's just
It
one
looks like
day,
3
one day of
meters
the week.
across.
would you need 3 spaces on
meters.
Tuesday afternoon?
Well, if you have 40 rooms, 39 rooms, and you say a third of them are turning over each day, that would be 10. And if a third of the third come at 3 o'clock, that's 3 spaces. We would be grateful for 2. We are grateful for the one that's there. But we think from an operational standpoint and the benefit of the neighborhood, it would be great to have 3.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Is like, if I'm driving down the road, how would I be alerted that this is a drop-off for you? Is this?
Well, we tend to text all of our guests the day of arrival and say, we're looking forward to seeing you. Here's how the parking works, or whatever the situation is.
Internal communication?
Yes.
So there's no like signage or
Well, this-
striping or anything like that?
I think it should be striped.
Okay.
Ideally, it would be
That's where I'm getting like,
a yellow line instead of just a meter with a sign on it, because that can confuse people that, oh, I found a space, and they might try to use the new green signs to pay for the space. And so I think striping would make sense.
right, none of that design is on the plan. So like, if the board is going to grant approval, I would make a recommendation that design be worked out, and,
That's great. I agree. And city council, I think, has to ultimately approve it, but we could follow your recommendations in terms of what you think is the best.
But right now, what I wrote down, this is what I wrote down on this. I want to make sure I have it right. Mr. Mazza indicated the city manager recommends eliminating 2 metered spaces in addition to the existing loading zone. Mr. Hurlis clarified that after further discussion, the 15-minute loading zone and eliminating 1 meter space is sufficient. Further discussion with the city. I'm going to say with the city, right?
yes.
Okay.
Would there also be valet service? Oh, she's.
We're just going to take if we could just take a 10-minute break. If we could just take a 10-minute break, Mr. Mazza, if that's okay. All right, we're in a recess for a moment.
Okay.
Thanks, I just want to understand it better. With the thought process.
Follow-up. I don't think they have to go to city council, and city council says, we're only going to give them 1 or 3. It's different than what we approved, and they would have to come back.
Yeah, I just want to understand
So
what the
I
thought
think
was.
it should be, our approval should be crafted on ultimately city council.
Actually is on the plans.
How much does a park?
Tony.
Someone can check it. Karen did.
I've seen the numbers, but I don't know how accurate they are. But they like, I thought the latest number that I saw was 30 grand. Like on average, if they average it out across the city, because some spaces are much more valuable than others.
No, this is spaces, I mean, these are blocking the beach.
Like 30 grand a space.
No, that makes sense. I
On average.
understand.
So like,
You just don't want them to stack up there. You know what I mean?
what's the average? I've heard quotes like 30 grand a space. Like 3. Nah. It's, back in the day.
Well, even this Park Mobile thing's a different level. I mean, it's a little different than the coin stuff. So I mean, I don't know.
I'm talking over the course of the year, so like,
I don't know.
that's what I've been quoted. I don't know that for a fact.
What? I don't know. They have 2 spots on off street on that street. They can tell you which each meter does. I mean, it's the Park Mobile thing. They
Yeah,
can
I
tell.
think there, maybe that's quote on the highest earner. I don't know, but I've seen like average amounts. I thought I saw like 10 to 12, like 15 years.
Yeah, it's a Lifeguard
I
station.
don't know that for a fact, so I would never put that on the radar.
Yeah, it's a Lifeguard station. Ah.
But that was, and I think they did that, they didn't do the full amount of this place.
Well, I remember the
parking contribution amount. They tried to increase that to like 15 grand, because that's what they calculated when they were doing that as the average meter generation of just more than years. I think. Yes, I saw it, yeah. What was new to me is 15-minute meter, I wasn't aware of that nuance. What I don't want to happen is for us to condition it on the city council, and then it's different than what you said here, what the board person down back here, I wanted to, somehow, we make the recommendation, but they ultimately decide, something like that. There are notes on the fantasy ballet, somewhere in this, so please clarify that on the record. Yeah, we do. By the way, Chris, you want to launch that shit. This is a lot of that. This is a lot of that with people, they don't use up all the time. They just piggyback off the one. You ever find a meter with that? Oh, yeah, look at that. This one's got 2 hours on it. You don't put that in, especially the re-explain the flat that you but we should get past the problem that we've got to time. So, according to AI, it made a 2.4 to 2.7 million total. We are 5,000. Does it have total number of meter spots? It doesn't say. It says by a single space gross over 5,000 during the maximized full season. Returning 12 hours rates, minimum rates, actual meter output varies widely based on location. I wonder what the reference is. Just turned off. The references though. I don't know. It might be an old, like it picks up like old man for stuff, so it's gonna use some of that old data off or. Truth is, the hotel has been generating a lot of money with other meters in there. Oh, yeah, no doubt. We have a part simple.
Apologize, everyone. It's a long day today and I'll be
Let's keep moving. Want me to wrap? Yeah, okay.
Ms. Keenan, are you ready? Okay, is everyone else ready to go back in session? All right. Our chairperson is going to remain standing, but we'll listen to the application and participate. All right, Mr. Monzo, you can
We'll go to
continue.
the,
Can
go
call
to the
witness?
experts if you, I have Mr. Stokes first. Will the board recognize Mr. Stokes as an expert in architectural?
There we go.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Stokes, can you just explain the project if you can? I gave kind of a brief overview. So
Yes.
I'll give a little bit more detailed explanation.
Looking at site plan Z101. As you know, the hotel was last renovated in the 90s. At the time, they kept the existing fire escapes, which are here and back here. This one overhangs the rear egress. In the courtyard, the original courtyard, the hotel's a U-shaped, and the original courtyard had been filled in over the years with a large kitchen and actually a two-story section up second floor we think might have been like a manager's suite. So it was not original to the building and, created we wanted to remove all this. So we as part of the renovations, we want to bring this building up to code. And we want to add two stairs on either side, so U-shaped, to meet the building code. Currently, the building does not meet the building code with those fire escapes. So removing all this added space in the courtyard, opening that up.
Into the microphone because some people have trouble hearing you, and we also have.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Live stream, and it depends entirely.
Yeah. Okay.
Is this Z101?
This is Z101.
Thank you.
Yes. So looking at the proposed plan here on the right, you see the stair towers, which are 3 stories tall, and a area in the back here on the left is actually, that's the existing electrical service room. So that's only going to be partially removed. We have to maintain that for the electrical service. Thus, the setback here being 8.5 feet versus 10 feet in this center area. And on the right, we matched it with an amenity, a sauna, creating a small pool in the courtyard, and then a balcony around the perimeter. The other thing I want to mention is that it doesn't meet ADA right now. We want to bring this up to full ADA compliance. And at the rear, we're making a ramp at the back. We're raising that up to the level of the first floor, thus creating a doorway here for handicap guests to enter the hotel. We'll also be adding an elevator, three-story elevator as part of our ADA compliance. And per the building code, we'll have 2 ADA compliant, fully ADA compliant rooms. The courtyard, this photo here shows the rear with the existing fire escape that protrudes over the egress ramp. It's very tight back there. That's all going to be removed. This photo here shows some of these additions
They're also the exhibits,
These are the exhibits, yes.
and they're part of a.
It's part of the existing photo exhibits. And it shows some of the added buildings within that courtyard. So we wanted to create a beautiful space on the interior of the building that guests can enjoy with a small pool.
Just for the record, so the bottom two photos are part of A2. They're existing conditions. The top two photos are renderings of what is proposed. They're part of A1. They're in the exhibit package.
So
Is there anything?
yeah, that area, yes, that's all going to be torn down, yes. Not original. No, that's the adjacent property. The bamboo is the adjacent property. Yes, yeah. Yeah, it's only at that corner. It's only 5.7 feet setback there. Wide enough for our egress ramp and maintenance access. Yes.
Ms. Sheehan, can you put your mic on, please? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, people want to come back in and yell at her.
So, site plan Z101, the new stairs are within the courtyard. And so they're actually 9 feet back within the courtyard.
Yeah, I should work on this part here.
Okay.
And
But the important part of that is the alleyway will now be a clear path, which it's not presently, correct?
correct.
Can you touch on the landscaping additions and the?
Yes. So, so looking at the courtyard renderings here, these two renderings on the right. This one's looking towards the main hotel. You see landscaping. We have 6 linden trees we're proposing within the courtyard to soften it. Small swimming pool and lounge chairs surrounding it. We have permeable paving within the courtyard. And you'll see these balconies. The second floor is existing, the third floor is proposed. Very small to give it some definition. The other photo rendering here is looking towards the rear property line. You'll see the swimming pool here. You'll see these stair towers on either side, which match the architecture of the building. And at the very rear, there's a trellised area with 4 lounge chairs. And behind that, we have a planting bed of boxwoods so that our pool deck area is now with just 10 feet from the property line.
So overall, Mr. Stokes, this is a dramatic improvement to what's existing in the rear of the property?
Absolutely, yeah. So right now, the courtyard is just tiny, underused. And so this creates a real amenity for the guests here. The entire hotel is going to be improved, all new HVAC systems, new bathrooms, new sound insulation between the guest rooms. I mean, we're basically building this, for the 21st century. So we're improving all the infrastructure of the existing hotel. We're making it energy efficient. We're replacing the windows with energy efficient windows, creating a modern environment for the guests with an elevator. There will be a small cafe, it's mainly there as an amenity for the guests, such as a place where they could get breakfast, possible lunch sandwiches, and thus that's the 42 seats, some of which are located on the porch. So it's just a fraction of the previous restaurant.
Is that for guests only, or is that open to the public?
We don't want to go into that. I mean, we just would want 42 seats, and I believe primarily our guests will be using it because it's not an extensive restaurant. We've got the Blue Pig, the Rusty Nail, and other places to send folks all over town. So
expect it to be
I think it's hard to just say regulate who's coming in and out in that respect. So
I'd like, is there anything else, Mr. Stokes, that you need to touch on, or could we go to?
No, I think this addresses everything. The exterior, this is the existing photo here. We're maintaining. We had HPC approval. The exterior will not change, besides the new windows, which match the existing, and partially enclosed porch here, where we're going to have 3 suites in that area, and in the restaurant we're changing that to 4 guest rooms on the first floor, the large restaurant. Thus the increase to from 31 to 39.
Before we go to Mr. Cates, does any board members have questions, or the professionals for
Yes.
Stokes?
Where's the kitchen located for this cafe or the restaurant?
Okay, this is A101 in the first floor plan, and you can see in the lower right we have the cafe here, and the kitchen. This is a small room labeled food prep. And there's a area here called serving. So some of the kitchen functions will be in that serving area, and kind of the back of house dishwash will be in this small area called food prep. So it's all contained within the front here, because this area here is the current restaurant dining room, and we're adding 4 guest rooms.
we'd like a comp.
Does the seating just include this? Does it include the porch and the pool area for that restaurant, the cafe seating?
No, nothing in the pool area. Those are lounge chairs, so no cafe seating. And it's just these few tables on the porch, on the left-hand side of the porch, and the few tables within the what we call breakfast room on this plan.
And my other question has to do with trash. Where's your trash receptacles and
Yes.
going to be?
So in the rear, we have an area, we're showing a wall-mounted bike rack, and then next to it, we have totes for, an area for totes for trash and recyclables.
Like a large rolling?
Not it, the totes,
A lot of totes.
So you think 3 totes are going to be enough for trash?
Well, they ran Cookies Buffet there with a lot more. They had a. We think it will be more than enough for us. We'll have
Yeah, since
6
there's
or
really
7 of
no
them and daily pickup
restaurant
and
here.
it will work. We didn't. That was one of the reasons to descale the restaurant is just the logistics of it.
I'm just saying I have at least 1 tote, and there's only probably 3 people in my house. So I'm surprised that 3 totes, it would be enough for 39 restaurant, for seat for 39 restaurant.
There is there's room for actually 2 more back there, and I don't know if you have daily pickup here.
We do. We use totes at the Virginia also, and are used to that on these properties that have high lot coverage.
Anything else? Okay, we'll go to Mr. Cates. And again, Mr. Cates has been before this board many times, so he's qualified as an expert.
Yes.
Thank you.
So,
You're a engineer and planner?
Correct.
Okay.
so Mr. Cates, why don't you just go through let's go right into the variances if you can, starting, I think you could take all the pre-existing conditions under both the C1 and C2 criteria. So you want to just run through them?
Yeah, you want me to run through? So for the C1 hardship criteria, just to abridge the state statute is by reason of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, shape of specific property, and it goes on for different reasons, but the specific one are structures that lawfully exist thereon where they strict adherence to the act would result in peculiar or exceptional or practical difficulties, which is the case of this existing structure. To bring it into conformance, we would have to essentially rebuild the entire structure. So with regard to the 5 bulk variances, we believe, which we would qualify, namely lot size, lot coverage, building setback line, side yard, and rear yard setbacks. This is a lawfully existing building, which based on the current zoning, the applicant could not make any improvements without triggering the need for these variants. So shrinking the building, which we are, or reconstructing it within the setbacks would be impossible. So the changes that we have made do bring down some of those nonconformities by eliminating lot coverage and building coverage, demoing that interior structure, and then eliminating the fire escapes. We're creating a larger setback, but eliminating them entirely would create a hardship. With regard to the C2 criteria, we believe there's several purposes of zoning advanced. We believe it would encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate use or development of all lands in the state in a manner in which will promote the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare.
I just don't want to get lost. You applied the C1 variance to the C1 standard to the 5 variances, and you gave your reasons for that. And now you start going to C2. I just want to know what variances we're doing that for. Is this parking, or is this, I just want you to clarify.
Yeah, so right now, I'm referencing the C2 with regard to those 5 as well. And then I'll get to the parking.
Okay, I think the C1 is sufficient for a
Okay.
20-year-old building. I mean, you can do the C2, but go ahead. But you're talking about the existing structure,
Why don't you address the parking variance? And I agree with Mr. King that this is a classic hardship.
I'm going to direct the board to consider the existing structure variances under the C1 anyway.
Okay.
The C2 isn't really the applicable thing there. So go ahead, parking.
Yeah, so the parking. So again, we have no off-street parking as proposed. And there is an existing condition that is being made substantially better by eliminating the restaurant seats. So even with the addition of the 8 hotel rooms, it is an improvement of the parking deficiency by, I believe it was 23 spaces. So with regard to the positive, we believe that those purposes of zoning, specifically encouraging municipal action, providing adequate light, air, and open space, promote the establishment of appropriate population densities, provide sufficient space in appropriate locations. We also believe that this will promote the desirable visual environment, and I think the key to this one is
promote the conservation of historic sites, districts, open space, energy resources, and valuable natural resources in the state, and to prevent urban sprawl and degradation through improper use of land. So we believe by maintaining the site as is proposed, despite the parking deficiency, we are reducing that parking need, and therefore this is a benefit to the community. So with the goal of this site,
Can I just, wouldn't this qualify as C1 as well? I mean, you have an existing structure with no parking and you have,
correct.
there's nowhere to put parking. So it's impossible to meet the parking requirements.
Correct. The parking could be considered under the C1. It is existing. We are reducing it, and creating parking would create a substantial hardship.
Can you touch on the negative criteria for both the bulk variances and the parking variance?
Yeah, so I think given that this kind of improves the non-conforming parking, there is no negative detriment. We do think that this would be a positive to the neighborhood by reducing parking demand. So therefore, there is a benefit to the public and no detriment to the intent or purpose of the zone plan.
Okay. So now let's focus on the D2 variance, which is an expansion, again, because there's an alteration of a non-conforming use, it requires a D2 variance. So can you give the standard for the D2 variance and then give some testimony as to why this meets that standard?
So we do meet the C1 and C2 criteria, and it is a lawfully existing structure that cannot be, I'm jumping around. Yeah, so specifically, we need to apply the substantial increase test, which focuses on whether the expansion significantly intensifies the existing non-conforming use. Although the positive criteria is still required, it can be met by demonstrating that the benefits to the neighborhood and neighboring properties outweigh the detriments and constitute an improvement to the site.
So in your opinion, is this site suitable for this type of project? And if so, why and how does that fit into that standard?
Yeah, so given that the goal of this project is to return the site to be more in line with its historic nature, as discussed, reducing the size of the restaurant, despite the increase in number of rooms, will reduce the existing intensity of the site and therefore benefit the neighborhood.
And would the same negative criteria apply to the D2 variance relief?
Correct. We think the benefit far outweighs the detriment, and we could see no negatives to the intent or purpose of the zone plan.
Before we get to Mr. Hurlis, there was one comment that indicated that we might need another variance, and I think we do, because we have a lowest finished floor at 7 feet. We have base flood elevation of 9.5, design flood elevation, I think it's 2 feet above that, 9.5 or 11.5. So it triggers variances both under zoning and under the flood damage prevention ordinance. I'm going to have Mr. Cates speak to zoning, and then I'll have Mr. Stokes speak to the flood damage prevention ordinance. So if you can state what this variance is and then why it would qualify under the either C1 or C2 criteria.
So again, the variance is for the finished floor to remain as it is because we believe under C1 hardship criteria, the lawfully existing structure that couldn't be raised without negatively impacting the historic integrity and structural integrity of the building. So we believe that consistent with the previous testimony, this is promoting the purposes of zoning and that there would be no substantial impairment of the intent of the purpose of the zoning plan if this condition were allowed to remain.
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry. Could you repeat what he just said?
Yeah, so again, the issue we're having is to raise this structure would compromise the integrity of the structure and the historic nature of the structure because it's so large, and with the way it was constructed, it couldn't easily or difficultly, we don't feel, be raised. So given that an attempt to raise it could result in destruction of the property, we're seeking this under the hardship criteria.
And also, one of the purposes of zoning under J is to promote the conservation of historic sites and districts. So would this meet that purpose of zoning?
Yeah,
as
under
well?
the C2 criteria, we felt that this met that one as well because, again, raising it could result in serious adverse effects to the structural integrity of the structure.
Do you have the reference to the flood code section in which you're asking for that variance?
Yeah,
I don't have.
I do have that. It's 258D7, I believe. Just bear with me one second.
Oh, I do have that one in my report.
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So under 258D, Seven.
7B, actually.
7D, 258 7D. So I'm going to have Mr. Stokes address that because it
Okay, I just want to make
require-
sure. So on page 8 of 9 of my review, comment number 3 is where I bring this to their attention. And they've done that analysis and determined that they do need relief from those 2 sections that I mentioned in that statement. So that is the variances that they're asking for.
So I'm going to have Mr. Stokes address the 258 D7 variance. So if you can address that, first of all, if you can speak to the design flood elevation, what this building is at and what that variance is, and then go into the standards under the flood damage prevention ordinance.
Yeah, said that the building's at elevation 7 in the first floor, and the design flood elevation would be 11.5. So that's potentially raising the building up 4.5 feet. Should be detrimental, as Paul said, detrimental to the building. We don't think this kind of building could be raised very well. It already has some structural issues which we have to address, and would certainly impact the neighborhood. Another way to do this is to do floodproofing, and that's with floodgates. But you actually have to engineer up to 11.5. You have to engineer your walls to withstand the force of the water, basically holding back the ocean. So that's concrete, and that would substantially damage, the look and the structure.
So because this is a historic structure, key contributing building, it qualifies for relief under the
That's
historic
correct.
structure
So
provision?
it does qualify for relief as a historic structure, and one of the key contributing buildings in Cape May. There is, and as long as our renovation is conducted under, meets all the building codes, which it will, as I stated before, mainly regarding egress, ADA, and fire codes. So this building is exempt from raising raising it to the flood elevation.
Can you speak up a little, please? I'm having a hard time catching it on the live stream, please. If you have any more testimony.
So this building is exempt.
Well, you mean it qualifies for a variance
It qualifies for a variance.
based on the standard?
Based on the standard, yeah. And the standard, it qualifies for a variance because it's a historic building, historically designated building. And as long as the building is renovated under the building code, which it will be, it'll meet all current code. And for fire, for life safety, for energy use, and ADA.
I'm remembering.
Okay. And none of the new addition, which are really just the stair tower and the mechanical room, does any of that have a finished floor that's below design flood elevation?
The finished floor for those spaces is at the same elevation, 7.
Okay, but is there, what is in those 2 areas?
So those are all non-habitable spaces.
So there's not habitable area that's at 7?
No.
Okay.
I just have another quick question. In the old photos, it looks like there was, by the bike rack and that fountain, there was some grass. and I noticed there's no grass in this courtyard. Can you explain how we went from 95% lot coverage to 90? Where's that 5% that you gained?
By removing the addition, those buildings, the building within that courtyard.
Okay.
So by removing all that, we increased by,
But you're still
5%.
covering
That
everything.
doesn't include that doesn't include the pool. So we have our new building area and the pool. So counting all that, we are at 90%. And we are using permeable pavers. So without those, it was actually 91%. So this lowers it to 90% by using the permeable pavers.
Yeah, because I think in that, before, with the other building, before you took it down, it looked like there was grass and the fountain, and that's why I didn't understand how you could actually save 5% by tearing the building down and making it all concrete.
What is the material for the courtyard?
It'll be a permeable surface.
Current courtyard is all paved. What you're seeing here is a fountain. It's like a decorative fountain on the paving. And there was no grass back there. You're seeing here some plants.
Okay.
I believe they're in pots.
The conversion of that area, what they're proposing on the plan, is what is causing the reduction in proposed lot coverage.
Yeah, I just couldn't understand how it was
Yeah.
10%, or, I guess it's only 5% lower. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was
So
more.
you get a 50%.
Yeah, it was only 5.
Right.
I thought it was, for some reason, I was thinking 10. I have another question, and that is, where is the pool equipment going to be housed?
There's a room here labeled pool equipment.
Okay,
It's right here next to the laundry.
okay. And I think on the one picture, you had the HVAC on the roof, and that's going to continue to stay on the roof, that's correct? Or is that new on the roof?
Yeah, our proposed HVAC condenser location will be on the flat roofs, the 2 flat roofs of the proposed stairs, and they'll be screened.
Okay. Was there air conditioning before, or was it?
There is.
The air conditioning
Okay.
was actually on those balconies. Those balconies
Okay.
were not usable and kind of crammed onto those balconies. And all of which is non-working right now anyways. As you can see, there's window units now.
There's also a calculation of lot coverage on the first sheet, Z101 in the upper left-hand corner, that has the before and after calculation of lot coverage.
Yeah, it was also on Craig's list, too, I was getting from. My last question is, you mentioned in here valet parking. Is there valet parking?
No, we're not planning to valet park until or unless we get off-site parking someplace, in which case we would come in with a valet plan.
Okay. But it was mentioned, wasn't it, in the packet, valet parking? Because I just didn't come up with that. I think it was.
I think maybe it was a misapplied term to the loading zones in the front, perhaps, where
Oh.
people would.
Yeah, it said loading zone for valet parking.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's really for our bellmen to help them get their bags in the place, but it's a self-park.
Okay.
I have no further questions. We'll entertain board questions, comments from the public, and I know Craig has some engineering issues.
While we're finding something, can I ask Paul just to comment as part of the negative criteria and the potential impairment on the zone plan? Mr. Stokes has the enlarged zoning map provided on his plan. Can you talk about the site's relationship to the C2 zoning district, which permits this type of use? It's,
So again, yeah,
if you could just.
yeah, so we're,
I'm just kind of handing you.
The next bit. It's
yeah,
right
so we
there.
are a
It
block,
abuts the-
block away from the C2 where this would be permitted. And I think that, again, to Craig's point, goes directly to site suitability. Were we a block in either direction or across the street, or a block to the south or across the street, this would be permitted and we wouldn't be here for the use. So therefore, I think given the location, given the proximity to the C2, we fit inside those standards as well.
And none of the improvements, I think, the improvements would not trigger C2 variances as well.
Were we in that zone?
I mean, bulk variances.
Correct.
And you're currently in the what zone?
The RS.
RS?
Gotcha. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
Thank-
so I
thank you,
think,
Craig.
yeah, that location in the zone goes directly to site suitability. This was permitted across the street.
I think I just wanted the board to be aware that, normally if we were plopping a hotel into a residential seasonal district, the most comparable use in that zone is we allow bed and breakfasts in the RS district. Hotels with restaurants certainly aren't allowed in there. But I think the relationship to the C2 district, which permits that use, is important to note.
I'm just checking that, I just want to do something, just to make sure all right. And if you said this, I apologize, and I think I figured this out. You have this in there. All right, there's a different kind of variance, I want to make sure that we have the language that we need, because that's the with our flood. Is it? Nope. Okay. Stacy, you're slipping.
I know.
You're slipping. Okay, I just want to make sure we have this in there technically. I don't want you to get jammed up later. Because of the flood ordinance, sometimes we have to report for flood prevention to people other than Cape May. So if we grant variances, they have to be very particular. So as I understand it, you're seeking a variance under section 258-7 from the flood damage prevention portion of our ordinance. And that is for historic structures 258-7B. And it says a variance to the substantial improvement requirements of this chapter is authorized provided that the repair or rehabilitation of a historic structure is completed according to NJAC 5:23-6.33, section 1612 of the International Building Code, and R322 of the International Residential Code. The repair or rehabilitation will not preclude the structure's continued designation as a historic structure. The structure meets the definition of historic structure as described in this chapter, and the variance is the minimum necessary to preserve the historic character and design of the structure. Your testimony is that it meets that standard, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, thank you. So if we have to report this resolution, it has to have that in it. So thank you.
Okay, so Craig, you can give your report.
Okay, I'm going to summarize my August 3rd, 2026 review memorandum for the Hotel Alcott. Once again, it's located in the RS Residential Seasonal District. You've heard testimony from the applicants, what they're proposing to do. They have clarified some of the questions in my report. They're proposing to reduce the number of seats to 42, and there are 39 proposed rooms.
Correct.
Okay? So there's some language in my report that may reflect one or the other that were noted on the plans, but that is what we have confirmed, and that is the request for site plan approval with variances that they're requesting tonight. With regards to the checklist requirements for the relief that's been requested, item number 10 has been addressed through testimony, so that's no longer valid. Under the C and D variance checklist requirements, items number 19, 27, and 28, I have all recommended be provided as a condition of approval. There are stormwater improvements that are shown on the plan, but the comprehensive design has not been provided. So I've asked for grading and drainage information. So those items pertain to that. and utility locations that is necessary. Most of the comments in this checklist pertain to that design. Under the site plan checklist, item 3F, once again, should be provided. 3O, 3P, when that relates to the screening wall at the back of the pool, which is required. They show that there's one, but they haven't showed me how it's being built or constructed. So that's a construction detail that needs to be added to the plan. Item Q, I've asked for some additional lighting information be provided on the plan. I think they did show lighting locations, but there's more, the code requires some additional information. And then R is the location of signs. There is an existing sign on the front of the hotel. Is that sign going to remain unchanged?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we would like to document that and
Yes.
just verify the size, location, just so it's on the site plan and we're grandfathering it in by this approval. Okay, along with that is R, whether there's signage, lighting, information, that should be provided as condition of approval. Under site plan approvals, the ordinance requires us to grant a waiver from environmental impact statement as well as a traffic impact report. I support those, but that should be done because the ordinance tells us that we have to do that as a matter of fact. Item Y is recommended to be provided as a condition of approval, and based on those recommendations, I supported deeming the application complete. You heard testimony from the applicant's planner with regards to the relief that's necessary. I concur with that. If the board wants me to detail any of that information, I can. Most of those are existing non-conforming conditions. The only one that I picked up in my review, there are improvements located within the rear yard, kind of where that alleyway they've been describing, and they're removing that's considered the rear yard. So some of the improvements that they're proposing are within that 25-foot rear yard setback, but they're certainly located further away from where the existing encroachments are. So they're making improvements there, but they're pulling them back away from that lot line. So in my estimation and view as a planner, that's a better situation. Okay. You heard testimony with regards to the parking. They're based on what they're proposing. They have a requirement of 63 spaces. They've indicated that what currently exists has a parking demand of 87 parking spaces. So that's a reduction. They're reducing. So they've made planning testimony on the premise that they're reducing the overall parking demand. I would agree with that. And then finally, we did add the variance, and that's, I'm going to skip to page 8 of 9. So under item number 3 of my comments, they're making a variance request from section 525, and I think it's 59D3. I don't think it's 58. There was a renumbering of the ordinance, and some of my templates show an old.
The one that I pulled that said 258, but.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, 7.
We'll verify that, but the verbiage is there. I just want to make sure that the numbers matches that. And then under the Flood Damage Protection Code, section 258-7B. So those are 2 additional variances they've requested from us for the reasons given, and essentially preservation of a historic structure that has a first floor elevation that is lower than what's required today. I think that can be granted. So that's a review of the variances. Under my general review comments, these all should be conditions of approval. Items 1 and 2 were clarified. The number of rooms and the number of seats, I just talked about that. 3, I just talked about as being a variance. 4 and 5 are just revisions to the plan, should be conditions of approval. 6 is my stormwater review, and I note that we need a revised design, and that has to be provided by a licensed engineer. 7 is piggybacks right on the back of that is they have to comply with the minimum stormwater management and grading requirements. 8 is the pool requirement that the standard safety fencing has to be provided. 9 is a technical comment that they have to address as a condition of approval. 10 is our standard condition that we evaluate the sidewalk after construction and make sure that it's meets this, is not damaged and shall be replaced to the satisfaction of the board engineer. 11 is the comment, and we discussed this very early on in this process, is their request to eliminate 3 parking spaces in front of the hotel. And we've discussed that. So as part of the site plan approval, we should make the recommendation. Ultimately, the governing body will have to approve the removal of any on-street parking spaces, but our site plan recommendation can guide them with what we believe is appropriate. 12 through 19 are standard conditions that I recommend for approvals of this type. They should all be conditions of approval. Those include the review and recommendations of the departments. I will read those into the record. The fire department recommended approval dated 8/7/26, no comments. Public Works Department recommended approval dated 8/10/26. That's terrible handwriting, by the way. No comments. Shade Tree Commission recommended approval, noting that there were no trees at the location being impacted, and that was dated August 5th, 2026. We did receive notice of conceptual approval from the HPC. That hearing was June 15th, 2026. And that is a summary of my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions the board has.
A quick question about, I see that for the pool, we usually require that 4-foot buffer of greens or of trees or bushes and everything. Is that, I didn't know a planter could count as a buffer. Usually we require people to put in shrubbery that is at least 4 feet wide.
I viewed it from a standpoint that they're providing a solid buffer. And the ordinance says that you can actually use a shed as your buffer if you had one there. So this is not necessarily a shed, but it's a physical barrier that I would argue provides
that's the ramp?
a better screen. You know, I haven't seen the actual construction detail, but we're going to ensure that they're buffering that from that rear yard property.
So so the ramp would be ground level, but there would be no buffer put in there?
No, I believe that it has to remain clear, free access so that they can get the trash and loading done through that alleyway.
Well, if there's a bump in, is what I'm, right?
Just fire line as well.
I mean, what I'm
They're
saying
showing a
is
10
we've
foot
always made people require them to put this in, and I was just asking why they wouldn't be required to put it in.
I would argue that they're putting a buffer in.
But we don't know what the size is of the buffer, though. You're just
Well,
saying that they're.
I asked for a construction detail to make sure that
It's what we're doing is we're actually constructing a wall at the rear of the pool, and that'll be 9 feet high.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a wall plus landscaping,
And
correct?
then landscaping on the inside
Yeah.
Okay.
of the pool area.
So based on what I saw on the
So the
plan,
9-foot wall goes across the entire back there?
That's correct, yeah,
Okay.
because it ties into the existing electrical room in the other side.
Yeah, only because we make other people put in these 4-foot buffers around the entire perimeter.
The second page on Exhibit A2, you can see a visual on the conceptual, because you're looking straight back toward that wall.
Okay.
Second page of A1, I'm sorry.
But that's also, is there also a ramp there for the handicapped?
behind it.
Behind
It's
that?
actually behind.
Behind and closer to the street.
Closer to the street,
Okay,
behind the
so
actual
behind this, what I see here
hotel.
is where the ramp is. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's my opinion that they met the buffer requirement with those improvements.
We take no exceptions to any of the comments.
Any other questions for me?
Okay, we'd like to open it up to anyone within 200 feet of the property that wishes to speak. Anyone beyond 200 feet? Okay, we're closing to the public.
I think really, let me go through some of the variances, just so that anyone who reviews this understands we consider the appropriate standards. I would see variances on the engineer's report, page 5, for lot size, building setback, rear setback, side yard, and lot coverage are substantially C1 variances. The exterior of the structure is really not changing much at all, and to the extent it is changing, it's actually reducing any deviations into side yards. So in that sense, they can't do much different. It's an old building, it fills up most of the lot, and that is a existing structure that imposes a hardship, so to speak, that they can't make the lot size bigger or increase the setbacks, although they did in some ways. So that's a C1 standard. The variance for the parking, that too, I believe should be considered under the C1 standard. There really isn't the building is very old, and it's just not designed that parking. It's never had parking, so there's just a physical challenges to putting parking. You'd have to almost have to take down part of the building or something like that. It's also, I think that they presented some C2 arguments on that, which is, as the project as a whole, the benefits of preserving historic structure, bringing it to code, and all the other elements that they described as purposes of zoning and positive about the project would be lost if there were no parking variance granted, because there's just nowhere to park the cars. They also supported that variance by indicating that the parking demand, as a result of the manner in which they're using it, by increasing by 8 rooms, but getting rid of I forget the number, 83 seats or some large number of seats, supports the decrease in intensity, also supports the parking variance. We also reviewed a D2 variance, which will make this project require 5 votes. It is a use variance, but it's not the big use variance, the use variance where it's a use that is being newly introduced to a zone that doesn't permit it. That's the use variance that requires a much higher standard. This use variance is a lesser standard because they get some credit for it having operated for, 150 years or some large number as a hotel in this location. So the variance you're considering there is, will the property accommodate the changes to the use that are being made? An argument could be made that this really isn't an expansion at all, in a sense that it's less intense. Usually a use expansion is increasing the use some way. They're adding rooms, but they're taking away a restaurant. So they're not having weddings there like the old place did. I don't know if they mentioned that, but this is not a wedding facility anymore. The only time you ever knew that place was there really is when they had a wedding. But anyway, they're not having weddings there. So that type of thing is a reduction in the intensity of the use. So, but really you have to consider the use variance under the D standard. So I'm directing you to consider that under the D standard. That will require 5 out of 6 votes. Kind of brave doing this hotel with only 6 people here, by the way. We have 6 people, so you need 5 out of the 6. We don't have 7. And you were here for the last application, so you sort of heard that. We didn't know that in advance. I learned that when we were voting last time. There was one other variance, a flood elevation variance. 2 variances for that. There's kind of 2 different standards for that, but basically there's the C2 standard, which we've gone over already, but there's also a specific standard for a variance for historic structure. You heard their architect testify that this meets that standard for the historic thing, but obviously is a historic structure. It's not something you want to start lifting in the air. So, I mean, that's not my opinion, but that's the opinion of their experts, and that's what the ordinance provides, is to try to make you not take historic structures and start raising them up in the air if you don't have to. So the architect testified that they are violating the standard by the minimum necessary to maintain the historic character of the structure, and also to not endanger it and break it in half if you start lifting it. So that's what they're talking about. So those are all the standards you have to apply and incorporate by reference. The board engineers, more detailed and technical citation of those standards, and you should consider those in your voting. We are going to vote on the project as a whole because it's been presented as a whole. You're considering all of the benefits and negatives as a whole, so we have to vote as a whole, including the D2 standard, because I assume they want us to consider all of the testimony in the D2 standard. I don't really see any that I can pull out separately and vote on. It wouldn't make any sense, either kind of up or down. So if you're going to vote against it, I do ask that you articulate carefully your reasons, because really the only testimony we heard tonight was from the applicants, or really only positives have been put onto the record. That doesn't mean there aren't negatives that you can talk about or that you don't have discretion. It's just that there's no objector, so there's no record been developed for any negatives. So if you're going to vote against it, you really have to provide enough negative reasons to overcome the positive reasons that have been put on the record tonight, okay? So I would submit to you that a simple no may not carry the day in a review, because that no, I need some record to build the record on the no, okay? So you can make that. That's your job. So articulate your reasons, and I'll get them on the record, okay? Does anybody have any questions about what I said? Sir?
No, I have an observation. I think you've done a great job in the city with all the renovations and stuff you've done. My one concern I have with the parking at the new location. At one point, you were given relief at the Virginia for parking. I think the city parking committee several years ago gave you relief. My concern is whether or not you're going to be able to police the parking in front of this location appropriately. And I say that because, and I don't know, I know you have managers that run your operations, but clearly Jackson Street is blocked more times than not. And my concern is if there's a safety issue for fire or ambulance, they couldn't get down Jackson Street in front of the Virginia. And I don't know whether the road in front of this facility is sufficiently wide enough, Craig, to be able to handle emergency equipment.
It's twice as wide as Jackson.
Well, I'm just
No, I'm just saying it literally is.
One of the things one of the reasons why I asked Paul to talk about the proximity to the C2 district, it's right across the street.
Right.
It's so that type of use is contemplated on that street, even though it's on the other side, but that use is contemplated for that street. So I would argue that it's of sufficient width and construction to support that type of use.
I think also that goes directly to our request for that extra loading zone, to be able to get cars up against the curb as they load and unload, and not block the travel lane with someone potentially double parking.
Well, I think that's exactly what it is on Jackson Street, but it doesn't happen.
I would make a couple clarifications about Jackson, besides it being half as wide. The parking in front of the Alcott is on the side of the hotel, whereas Jackson Street's parking is across the street. We also have a hotel right next door to us, the Mad Batter, the Carol Villa. And so you have both of which have restaurants. So a big part of our decision to request this change and not just do 31 rooms and 140 seats is because a restaurant of that size requires a lot more delivery trucks, and that's a big part of the issue on Jackson Street. So I do think they're very different conditions, and we do police. We have one 15-minute space across from the Virginia, and it's across the street between two driveways. Here, the parking is contiguous. North Street is right there. There's South Lafayette. Jackson is a pretty long street without any intersecting streets. So I think it's a better condition, and we, are excited to have a facility similar to the Virginia that has the parking on the side of the street that the entrance is.
When it comes to the parking, you're reducing everything, the rooms and the restaurant, but yet the hotel before operated fine without having to have 2 parking spots removed from the public's use. And as much as you say Oh, it's the people next door. It's still a loading zone that's open to everybody that you can use on the side. And also in front of Virginia, you have the 15-minute parking, but you also have, I think it's 3 spaces of loading and loading zone that's in front of the terrace exit. So it is kind of continual on that side. So I just don't see how granting you 2 parking spots, taking away revenue when you already reduced everything, and then this hotel and restaurant functioned fine without that in the past.
We would be happy with 2 spaces or 3. I think to Mr. Ledwin's comment, 3 would make it easier for us to manage it. But if 2 is what you think is appropriate, we would be happy with that too.
It's
certainly
also,
better than
it's also
one.
not written in stone in the sense that if you give them the 15-minute loading and take away 1 meter, which would be 2 spaces, if it's a problem later, they could always go back to the powers that be and try to convince them that they need the other spot and work something out. So
Trust me, to
just-
get it back would be very hard.
that's
I mean,
what
I noticed.
that's what I
know
just
it-
said. I just suggested that you
Yeah.
maybe not give it now and see how it does with 2 spaces. And then if it's a problem and they need the 3rd space, they can go and they can try to convince whoever it
It
is. that
does
convinces
require,
those
it will,
things to get-
requires an ordinance of city council to create these loading zones. So this is just a recommendation that they asked for. But ultimately, it's their decision as to whether to grant it all 3, 2, or whatever.
Right, but I think the sense of the board is they want to give the 15-minute and 1 space. And then if that turns into a problem later and our colleagues, issue comes to pass, then you have to address it with trying to get the other space somewhere else. And what we do won't prevent that. Craig, is there any reason why we grant approval with a site plan that has the 15-minute and 1 metered space leaving, if they wanted to get another metered space removed, they wouldn't have to come back here. That would be a city thing, right?
No, I think,
All right,
right.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's the easy thing to do. We're doing what they asked us to do, and they can see how it goes, and if it doesn't work, they can get another one. All
That's
right?
fair.
Keeps us out of trouble and lets them deal with it. All right, so the motion I recommend being made, unless there's further discussion, and motion I recommend being made, but how you vote is up to you, is a motion to grant preliminary and final site plan approval with the associated variances 1 through 7 on page 5 of 9, and in addition, variance 8, which is 525-58 or 59D3, we're not sure, flood elevation, and number 9, 258-7B, flood elevation, with the associated waivers outlined by the board engineer and the conditions 1 through 19. I don't recall adding any conditions during the course of our conversation besides 1 through 19.
I didn't add any to this application.
Yeah, I don't recall any. So that's the motion that I recommend being made, but how you vote is up to you. But please remember, if you vote no, I'm not trying to dissuade you. That's your business. I just want you to articulate your reasons so I have a record to develop, okay?
I'll make the motion as stated by Rich.
I'll second.
Mr. Venuto motions, Ms. Sheehan seconds. Mr. Lewin,
Yes.
Mrs. Notch,
Yes.
Ms. Sheehan,
No. My reasons are, usually when we grant a variance, we get improvement, and this improvement does not include, we are not getting any new parking. I feel if we're reducing the size of the building, that should be made into parking. We're only reducing the lot coverage from 95 to 90. I don't think that's an improvement. And again, I said there's existing loading zone that can be used along with the 15-minute parking. I don't agree with the removal of 3 parking spots or 2, since we're reducing the restaurant and the rooms. There should be no reason to increase their loading and unloading areas. There's nothing to stop them from adding more seats to the restaurant around the pool or on the porch. So to say that there's only so many seats for the restaurant, that can always be increased. The variance is not benefiting the community because it's not allowing for parking. Usually when we do this, I'm going to say this again, usually when we do this, we grant a variance of this type with the fact that they're tearing something down, usually we get parking out of it. We're not getting any parking. So the variance is not directed to the condition of increasing parking.
Mr. Zexer?
Yes.
Mr. Venuto?
Yes.
Mrs. Werner?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. And thanks for your service. It's an important job and it's hard. Appreciate it.
We need a motion to approve our bills. We have a second for bill approval.
I'll second.
Okay, Mrs. Notch motions, Mr. Venuto seconds. Mr. Ledwin?
Yes.
Mrs. Notch?
Yes.
Ms. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Zexer?
Yes.
Mr. Venuto?
Yes.
Mrs. Werner?
Yes.
Thank you.
He is the man.
You want his autograph?
Good for you. Congratulations.
Can we get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All in favor?
Yay.
Thank you, everyone.
Well, if you're going to watch someone, he's the right one to watch. He's the best one. He's the guy.
Everyone is waiting for those with bated breath.
I did one. That was our studio. We did 3 of them.
Okay. Those would have huge